Stay tuned for the best of the Filmmakers show next, right here on Cablevision Channel 20.
Today we have with us Mary Smith. That's her real name. And Mary, who I happen to call Bangs on the set, is one of the most talented actresses in just another way. She puts together prosthetics and makeup and horror and gore for amusement parks, movies, and things like that. I wonder if you go on a date with a smile like that.
Would you ask?
So, Mary, tell us about yourself first.
Okay. Let's see. I started my love for all things prosthetics, I guess, and latex, as far as mask making and prosthetics making, way back from the time I was a child. And I went to cosmetology school when I was in high school. Then my life took a different detour career-wise for a long time, but this was always my lifelong hobby. This is something I always kept on the side. And I guess the best way to describe how it got started would be a long story. It's kind of cute, kind of sad, kind of...
Wait. I'm kind of cute too. You didn't mention that. Tell us your cute story on how you got started.
Okay. Well, let's see. When I was really little, I used to love to sneak down the stairs of our den and watch TV behind my parents' heads after they had put me to bed. And the kind of cute part is I thought for years that they had no idea that I was there. Well, at this time I came to find out that they knew that I was there all along. There was one night that I had done just that. I snuck down after bedtime to the top of the stairs and watched TV over my mom's head. And she turns around and she invites me to come join her all of a sudden, which startled me, of course. But the movie that was on that night in question was Night of the Living Dead. Now, my mom didn't watch this normally with my dad. My dad was not there at the time, unfortunately, because he had had a minor heart attack and was in the hospital, which is why she was watching it alone and so scared. But that's the kind of sad part. But he recovered fully. Instead of a lifelong therapy bill or, many weeks and months of nightmares, I turned that into a hobby that's intrigued me my entire life. I wanted to know how they did things. I wanted to know how they made things so lifelike and gory or dead-like, and ooey-gooey, and and make it look so realistic. So I had to know. So I've taken courses and workshops and anything I could, anytime I could, any knowledge I could gain on how they did that. Some of the most premier materials that we use, other than latex, I've keyed in on that. That's the most durable, I guess, for the type of work that I do, because I'm still, it's a hobby. I'm amateur at best, but someday I hope to gain some more tread. But they use foam in TV and movies. They would use that because it's more form-fitting. They can fit it directly to the actor's face.
So you said you use latex. Where do you get products like that? So Mary, what are we doing here?
Well, I was giving you a small example of some of the prosthetics that I make and some of the masks that I do. And to explain the process, it's basically you take a lump of clay. That's where you get started. And then you sculpt something beautiful and lovely and something that you're going to want to preserve in a mask, whether it be horror or something pretty. And then you completely destroy it. And by that, I mean your way of casting it is by taking that beautiful sculpture that you spent hours and days and weeks on, and then you cover it in cement, or more specifically, Ultra Cal 30, we call it. And there's a very lengthy process to try and get all the details, but to surmise, it's basically you cover it in the Ultra Cal 30. You make sure that you have a nice, well, this is a mold that's seen better days, but you have a nice area where you can be able to separate it. We call them pry points and things like that. There are a lot of steps that I'm leaving out, but basically once you've molded your sculpture with the Ultra Cal 30 and let it dry, then the next step is obviously to fill it with latex. And then you're going to do a beauty coat as far as the latex goes. You let that dry, you're going to pour the latex all around, and again pour out the extra and let it dry. And then what you do is you separate. I'm going to try to do this on camera and see if I don't mess myself up here. But you have a lot of work to do once you take it apart, but a very important part before you take it out of the mold is to spritz it all over with baby powder, because otherwise the latex is going to stick to itself. And then everything that you just worked for is going to end up in a little ball of latex and not going to be usable at all. It's going to go directly into the trash. All right, so once you've finagled yourself, you pull out your mask out of the mold, and once we've trimmed it down and mended the seams more properly, you have something that looks a bit more like this, and you start to prime it, and then it's ready for paint. And this particular one I usually put hair on too, because it's inspired by one of the characters from a famous show that I like to watch a lot, a horror show about zombies. I don't know if I'm allowed to say the name, but that's where this one is from. And the others are basically just, one is for fun, one is for horror. I do others where I do prosthetics, like this is, for example, for a nose, elf ears, and I make all the prosthetics myself. And like I said, they start as a lump of clay, and then you go from there. The next project that I've been starting on is actually, I don't have the example in here, I forgot to bring it, but is teeth, actually. Actually, that's probably going too far. You probably should cut that out. Sorry. That's a little much, sorry.
It's okay, don't worry about it. Go on like nothing happened.
Okay. Actually, I don't know where to go from there.
Show us the head with the hair.
Oh, okay.
Put it, stay right there, right there, right there. Now hold on, hold it straight for a second.
Okay, and this guy was just actually one of my first molds, and he's pretty popular actually among my friends. A lot of my friends have requested this guy for Halloween, and he's actually won a few costume contests. But again, he started out just like this mold. You start out with a lump of clay, you cover it in cement, and then go from there. That's a good way of making a prosthetic without destroying the sculpture that you spent hours making. Well, I have my preference. I mean, everybody who does this has their own preference as to what type they like, what manufacturer they would use. Me, I tend to, if I can drop a dime, like to use Monster Makers. Maybe they'll throw me a discount.
Maybe, but I doubt it.
True. But I get a lot of my products there. They do have a great mask-making latex that I use, and I use it in all my handmade prosthetics as well.
That's very interesting. Where did you grow up?
I grew up on Long Island and stayed here all my life.
Very, very interesting. So what are some of the processes and things that go into making these things? Like, how would you start?
Well, when I start to make a mask, as I may have alluded to at another time, you basically start with a lump of clay, okay? And you lovingly create this beautiful sculpture. And you form it over days and weeks and sometimes even months, you know, if you have the time for that. And then to make it into a mask, you have to completely destroy the sculpture that you've taken all this time to lovingly create.
So let me ask you a question. So when you take the clay, is that like the kind of clay that people make vases out of and spin and all of that? And as it get hard, you have to put it into a kiln and heat it up to make that head, or it's a little different, like a plastilina?
Right, different type of process. You can use that type of clay that self-hardens, but I mean it makes your life a little bit more difficult because obviously you have to continue to keep it moist. Otherwise, you know, if you're doing it over a process of days or weeks,
right,
you have to make sure that you keep the clay moist and your sculpture moist in between your sittings and creating the sculpture.
I see.
But no, you do not put that one in a kiln. That goes straight from being a sculpture to being cast in cement.
I see. So once you have it in cement, you pour it in. It fills that cavity that the mask creates within the cemented area, and now it's dry, and you open it up.
Right.
And you said something about putting baby powder. What was that?
Very true, very true. Once you've made your mold and you're going to cast the latex in that mold, once the latex is dried in that mold and you're ready to take your mask out of that mold, you must put baby powder, a nice liberal amount of baby powder on it. Otherwise, you're going to completely destroy the mask that you've just created. It's going to crumple up into a nice little latex ball.
What is the baby? What the properties of the baby talcum powder? What does that do to the latex?
It just keeps it from sticking to each other.
I see. I see. So you have to put that in. So am I to believe that once you pull the mask out, you put the powder there then? Or is it you put it within that cavity first?
Right. You have to spray it within while it's still in the mold.
Right.
Before you've even attempted to try and start taking it out, you must spray it with baby powder.
So the latex mold is done. So you pull it, and you spray the powder in. Is that it? Or do you spray the powder first? Sort of like when you're making an omelet, you spray the firing pin, and then you have your omelet.
Kind of.
And you can.
Well,
okay.
let's see. Think of a mask and where you're going to put your head in the mask. Okay, right. So right now the mask is there, and on the outside of the mask is the mold that you made.
Right.
Okay. So what you're looking at before you're about to unmold the mask is just the void where your head would go if it were outside of the mold. That's where you're putting the powder. You take the little baby powder shaker and you just spritz it all around within the inside of that mask before you start taking it out of the mold. Otherwise, it's gonna stick, and you're gonna try to pull it apart, and you're just gonna create a big ball of latex.
Now I have a very important question for you, and if you could just stare into the camera and pull your bangs away, what are you wearing in your eyes?
Ah, my contacts.
Yeah, I mean, I've noticed that they're spherical, scary. Don't want a first date with that, folks. But
they always have to create a character. You know.
What color are your eyes in real life?
Green-ish.
They look like black and whitish. Do they go in like regular contacts?
Yes, actually, these are prescription contacts, believe it or not.
No kidding, they sell prescription contacts like that.
Yeah.
Very interesting. Now you have some helpers today. Who are the helpers that were helping you out?
My
at this
friends
park?
Gray and Zach.
I see. And what are they doing right now?
Gray is putting on this beautiful prosthetic that she made herself without a mold.
Aha!
I mean, yes, there are different ways of making prosthetics without taking a lump of clay and making it into something beautiful and then destroying it with the cement, as I mentioned, the way I've done it. Gray is able, well, actually, let me have her describe her process because I don't do that often.
I am applying a homemade liquid latex prosthetic to Zach's forehead. I'm blending the edges out So I just applied a prosthetic to his forehead that I had pre-made. I blended out some more edges with some more latex, painted him, and now I was just finishing adding blood to the cut that I had made. We're gonna have to let it dry for a second before we paint it.
Mary, what's the purpose of what she's doing right now?
Well, she's trying to blend the edges. This is actually a prosthetic that Gray made herself. I would love to hear the process that you used to make this.
I mixed corn flour and liquid latex together, and then I let it like set just a little bit, and then I coated a palette knife with more liquid latex, and I cut through it, and I made some little texture on it, blended out the edges, and now I am blending out the edges on his face after I applied it.
Very cool. See, that's a good way to make a prosthetic without having to completely destroy a sculpture that you spent hours making. Now, the reason the hairdryer is being used because it helps to speed up the drying time for liquid latex. Otherwise, it can take eons for it to dry properly before you can apply makeup on top of it. It also can help when you're applying your prosthetic. You take spirit gum and you would put it on the back of the latex prosthetic. You can also put it on the skin of the person you're applying it to, and then use the hairdryer at that point too to make the spirit gum nice and tacky, so the prosthetic will stay longer and fit better. So you can see already the color change in the latex and letting you know that it's drying a lot quicker.
Don't say. You got a lot of hair too.
I have no hair.
Did you want me like in costume or anything with my makeup on at the end or no?
You can do that.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know how far we're gonna get with the makeup, but I could always do.
Well, she's doing a great job right now.
Yeah.
I'm only gonna like do his forehead because I don't think it's necessary to do his whole face.
All right, it's fine.
Maybe not.
Just show later on when it's all done. I'll take a picture.
Yeah, I could always do like a speed up version, right? I mean, we see
Yeah.
those all the time on YouTube. You know, the application going like 1,000 miles a minute.
Okay, let's start. She's coming along with that. I'm sure. Yes, this is much quieter. Much.
I never would have thought. I hope Anne's not like outside the door
Grab a
going.
brush.
fiance. Whoever that is.
I'm only gonna like do his forehead because I don't think it's necessary to do his whole face. Right?
All right, it's fine. Just show later on when it's all done. I'll take a picture.
Yeah, I could always do like a speed up version, right? We see
Yeah.
those all the time on YouTube, you know, going the application going like 1,000 miles a minute.
Hold on, let me get a look at you here. I'm gonna stop the camera. Okay, so turn away from her. And you come in here and just back away. Ready?
Mm-hmm.
Further in, honey.
And he's just about done. If you want to take a look.
Okay, I'm gonna zoom in on you a little bit. Excellent. Okay, begin away.
Sorry. Just get my jacket.
Which one? Oh, it's over there.
Let me just cut that. And just back away. And when she does, give it a beat. Look at the camera. Very, very nice. I'm very, very happy to have met you today. Any parting words for the folks out in the audience? For example, like how they can find you if they needed you.
Oh, well, my Instagram is finedetails19. I'm always posting new things that I've created as far as masks and new makeups that I do for friends, family, contests. People who like to enter Halloween costume contests, that's a big thing. So I post all those on that. I have friends that work at Bayville Screen Park, and their makeup is absolutely outstanding. So that's a good spot as well.
That's a great spot. Well, thanks for watching the Best of the Filmmaker Show, starring Jerry and Joann Parisi. That's us. We'll be back next week with another episode of the Best of the Filmmaker Show. And till then, I want to say thank you to you, Mary, for allowing us to come into your world. Tell us a little bit about the world of makeup and how you do it. And to that end, thanks for watching.
Happy haunting!
What is this?
This is home base. This
What-
is the makeup room.
Very cool.